Hi, everyone. It's good to see you. I think that's an important topic tonight, and I'm going to do a brief recap in a moment. But basically, last time I talked about the importance of relying on our common sense and intuition before science to know really, what to pursue in science. This time, I want to add something a little different. I've spent most of my life not fully speaking my mind because I didn't want to ruffle feathers or offend people or whatever reason. However, I think our situation has gotten to the point where our ability to live as free and natural human beings is becoming questioned and is really in jeopardy. So I think from this point on, um, going forward in my life, I'm going to do my best to really speak fully what's on my mind. Now, okay, brief recap from last time. Basically, we're self-healing beings. Our body wants to be healthy. It knows how to be healthy. Then why did we become sick? Simply two reasons. We poison ourselves and we don't understand enough about what it takes to be healthy. Now, one of the things I've always marveled at, I had the experience myself, and I've seen many people, once we return to balance, our body starts to tell us what it needs. And if we listen to our body, then we know what we need as far as diet, activity, and lifestyle practices. Then the next point I made last time is our healing ability doesn't really come from within. Yeah, it might take place within, but it comes from without. It comes from nature or the universe or God, depending on how you see things. So this is what we talked about last time. Now, I wanted to add something a little different in the beginning here, and that is, a lot of people probably know the answer to this, but what are the three most dangerous words, harmful words in the English language? And some of you will probably get it, and that is trust the science. Whenever you hear trust the science, run. Run like your life depends on it, because it really does. I am being 100% sincere, because trust the science doesn't mean trust science. It means trust authority. Trust and blindly believe authority. Trust your doctor. Trust the pharmaceutical industry. Trust the CDC or WHO or AMA or whatever three-letter organization you can think of. Trust and blindly follow people who think they know better about our own health and life, but they don't. No one can know better than me or you about what you need for your health, your children, your family's life. So macrobiotics, the basic premise of George Osaba was non credo. I will not blindly believe or follow. So if we practice macrobiotics, that means we strive to understand for ourselves, to choose things well and make them our own, to figure things out. This is really the spirit of macrobiotics. And I think it's important, if we're going to move forward and bring macrobiotics out to people, we have to go in this spirit. So I really, really wanted to start with that. I'm not against science. I'm for real science. But most of the things I've heard and seen as follow the science are not based on science. For example, what is the sense of keeping, Home Depot open or whatever other big box stores and closing your local hardware or plant store? There's no science behind it. There's no common sense. So we really need to move forward with common sense and intuition and sound understanding. Now, our planet, like ourselves, is a self-healing being. The planet, the earth endures. The earth has endured. The earth has an ability to endure and self-heal and self-repair. So why then is our planet getting sick? I think we can all acknowledge our planet is getting sick in many ways. So how does this happen? Well, it's the same way. We're poisoning the planet. Well, how do we poison the planet? number one, GMOs and glyphosate. Glyphosate is the most used, pesticide, herbicide in the world, and is becoming part of everything. It's all pervasive because it's a desiccant, it's a drying agent. It's used to dry, grains and foods before harvest to make the harvest easier. So glyphosate is destroying our microbiome, our ability to digest and process foods. And the other thing, together with that, is fake foods. There is not a fake food on the planet that is better than a real food. So Macrobiotics is about eating traditionally based food. Okay. The next thing is monoculture farming. This is the opposite of traditional farming. Monoculture, where you clear cut a large tract of land and you plant one crop, canola oil, or soy, or corn, and you can see this is growing more all the time. And the amount of chemicals that are used in these GMO crops is staggering. And you go out to where Susan's from, out to Lebanon County, this beautiful land, and you see all these cornfields, and you can just feel the chemicals. And so I'm very much into water quality, and I checked the water quality in our zip code in Philadelphia. And Susan said, well, our water out there is much better. Well, I checked it, and guess what? It's not, it's worse. Why is it worse? Because agricultural chemicals and runoff. So we're poisoning the planet through monoculture, then factory farming. Through factory farming, then not only are we treating animals brutally, not only are we clear cutting more land, right? But then the runoff, the pollution, both in terms of pollution going to the soil and waterways, and eventually into the ocean and into the air, which is totally staggering. And over the years, I've watched how factory farming has increased. When we go out to Lebanon County, all the time you see more factory farms. They're just increasing at an amazing rate. Then the next thing is, which have to electromagnetic fields, especially 5G now, and radio waves. So together with that, we're interfering with the natural resonance of the planet. So basically, why is the Earth getting sick? Because we're poisoning it. We're not treating it well. So it's struggling, but with all that, it continues. Now, why are factory farming and commercial feedlot farming for animals, monoculture, and GMOs and glyphosate so harmful? Well, the Earth has an immune system, the same as we do. And the Earth's immune system is the soil. And in order to keep the soil there, you need trees. The roots from the trees keep the soil there. Then the leaves fall down and they nourish the soil, and the soil is increasing. The soil is improving. Then when there's pollution in the air, it rains. And the rain cleans the air and it brings that dirty water into the soil. And as long as there's real soil there, teeming with life, then magic happens and the soil cleans it. It detoxifies it, it purifies it, and it comes out, it runs off, and it evaporates as clean water again. So when we have all this pollution from GMOs, glyphosates, factory farms, etc., all of that, so it's running onto soil that's eroded. There's no trees, there's no roots. It pollutes doubly, triply, endlessly. That's where the problem is. So in traditional agriculture, you have plants together, you have trees, you have things done in harmony with nature. So number one step to heal the planet, besides poisoning it, we need trees. We need more and more trees, because the root structure will hold soil, will rebuild the soil, and then we have a way for the planet to cure itself. Now, something that occurred to me, quite some time ago, And that is, if our body starts to tell us what it really needs, we start to crave the foods, we crave the activities, we crave the people we need to return to health. Well, does the earth have the same thing? And I believe it does. The earth can tell us in the same way as our body what it needs to return to health. But the question is, who can hear the earth's message? Who can hear the body's message? People who are in tune and sensitive enough. Well, the answer to that is people who are eating truly natural foods. A whole food plant-based diet is not enough. It needs to be a grain-based, because grains communicate between heaven and earth. So it needs to be a grain-based diet as the traditional diets throughout the world, and macrobiotics. Then natural foods. Then after that, eating indigenous and local foods. They're the people who can connect to the earth in the best possible way and hear what the earth needs, what it needs from us. It doesn't need much, but some things there we can assist. So that might sound like fantasy or not scientific, but if I solely believed in the science, I wouldn't do what I do. Right? I mean, I do what I do because common sense and experience has told me that there's another way that, to me, is scientific and should be scientifically investigated. And it's not very much up until now, but it's starting. We're starting to have breakthroughs in that area. Now, the next point is everything healthy, everything essential to life is under attack. And that list is increasing all the time. So the number one on my list is macrobiotics. The main fact checker that we have is Wikipedia. And Wikipedia cannot be changed, by the way, but at any rate, that's besides the point. If you go to Wikipedia, then you find out that I'm a quack with a fad diet. Not correct. Number one, myself, together with I don't know how many counselors in this country and how many counselors throughout the world, have helped thousands of people recover from terminal illness, infertility, mental illness, you name it, environmental illness, all kinds of problems. I mean, it's not hundreds, it's thousands. So I don't think that qualifies as quackery. Then the macrobiotic way of eating is based on the eating pattern of the world's longest standing cultures, who were all grain, bean, and vegetable based. So the reality is macrobiotics is one of the only ways of eating on the planet. It's not a fad. It's got more than 10,000 years of history. So, okay, number one under attack. Number two under attack are grains and salt. Brown rice is under attack because of arsenic. I hear it all the time. An old client called me yesterday that she's having some issues and she went to see a naturopath and said, oh, the problem is brown rice. You shouldn't be eating brown rice. It's toxic. It has arsenic. Corn is pretty much taken out by GMOs. Wheat and barley, because of gluten, which are some of the healthiest foods, the oldest grains on the planet are wheat and barley. They're the principal grains in the world. So because of gluten sensitivity and gluten's intolerance. Now, why did I group grains and salt together? Because salt is under attack as well. The reason is grains and salt. Salt is the essence of the sea, where our ancient life came from. Grain is the essence, the summation of food on the land. The combining grain and salt together, and we need salt to absorb the nutrition and energy from grain. When we combine grain and salt together, it does a number of things. One, it helps us create a direction towards health and clarity in our life. But just as importantly, it fosters independence and self-reliance, and ability to think clearly, critically, figure out things, discover things. That comes from grains and salt together. It's crucial for a healthy life. So whenever I hear so many people I respect say, eat your fruits and veggies, which are absolutely wonderful, they're part of the macro, it needs to be eat your grains and veggies and fruits. The key point, and the grains need to be prepared with good quality natural sea salt. And the next thing that's under attack, self-reliance and self-responsibility. Because the other thing that I didn't mention that bothers me about trust the science is you're not allowed to question it. But isn't science about questioning? Isn't science about trying to disprove itself to prove it? It's based on questioning. So to be self-reliant, self-sufficient, to be independent, we need to be able to question things. That's how we figure things out. Next thing, fevers, flus, and germs. So fevers are vitally important for health. Now, what's the number one symptom of COVID? A fever. What's everyone aware of? Fever. We used to go into places and people show that thing at your head, check your fever. When I went to the dentist in the middle of COVID, I had to check my fever when I came in. When I went to the Russian sauna, they checked your fever. Everybody was checking fever. Well, what is a fever? A fever, first of all, you have to be healthy enough to produce a fever, more than a low-grade fever. When you have a fever, your body temperature rises. Your liver secretes red blood cells. Your spleen secretes white blood cells. Your heartbeat increases, your breathing increases. So red blood cells transport oxygen. So your blood's circulating more, you're breathing more, you have more oxygen. White blood cells are repairing things, taking care of things. Then the heat of the fever itself is burning out toxification. You know, the old-fashioned thing, wrap yourself in bed, go to sleep and sweat it off. There's a lot of validity to that. So, and who's most afraid of fevers? Doctors and nurses, making everyone else afraid. Fevers are a friend. Colds are a natural detoxification. Flus are a natural detoxification. What I say to people, healthy people get healthy flus, or COVID, or colds, because it's a detoxification. So if you're detoxing from a healthy diet and lifestyle, you're just cleaning out debris. Like, we have to clean out our house regularly. We have to declutter. That's the way it is. Our body just has to do the same. The next thing under attack, organic farming. People are saying, well, organic farming is good. Well, maybe it causes less pollution. Maybe there's, a little more nourishment in the food, nutrition, but you might as well just eat commercial vegetables and just wash them off and they'll be fine. But the reality is, and I hesitate to say it, and I'm not really a religious person, but God didn't make a mistake. There is naturally enough food produced by this planet to feed everyone in a healthy way. And the uniqueness, one of my earliest influences in macrobiotics was a book published by Rodale Press, Farmers of 40 Centuries, about 4,000 years of farming in China. And how not only did they not erode the soil, but they enhanced it throughout those 4 centuries. And the example I gave with the trees, and the soil is naturally enriching there. And when we grow things according to real organic or biodynamic or sustainable agriculture practices, then we're actually increasing the soil and the ability to produce food, even under harsh conditions. So in my early macrobiotic days, Roger Hilliard was the president of Erewhon, and we became really good friends. And he left Erewhon to go work for Arrowhead Mills, Frank Ford at Arrowhead Mills. He was growing a lot of our early grains. So I decided to go out and, visit Roger and Arrowhead Mills. And what was fascinating, their wheat was lower, smaller than neighboring wheat. But when they had a drought, their wheat was the only wheat still standing. All the other wheat fell over. Why did it fall over? Because the roots didn't go deep enough. Where it was on these smaller organic plants, the weeds went deeper. So what you get with nitrogen-based fertilizers, petroleum-based fertilizers, is you get you get bursts of activity, of production, but at the price of depleting the soil and making weaker food. Fast and more quickly is not better. The only way to truly feed the world in the future in a healthy way is through organic agriculture, which is making for sure far healthier food. Is it scientific? No, but you buy good organic vegetables and go to the supermarket and buy the same broccoli and look at them and taste them, and there's no difference, right? There's no comparison. And one of the things I always tell my clients, don't, spend whatever you need to on food. Don't cut corners on food. Buy the best of the best, whatever is out there. Why? Because it makes a huge difference in your health. When it's grown in a better way, it's more nourishing, it's more strengthening, it's more healing. Then recently, home gardening has been under attack, saying that there's pollution and there's deadly pathogens in the soil. And it's not safe, it's not healthy to home garden, and you have to wear gloves and a mask. And I said this to someone recently. I go with these group of friends. We go camping every year, and I said it to one of them, and she kind of freaked out on me. She said, "Where'd you hear that? Where'd you read that? I follow the news every day. I never heard that." I said, "Well, at any rate, if you research it, I think you'll find that this is growing more and more. The dangers of home farming. So organic farming and home gardening, growing our own foods, which what could be better? Getting our hands in the soil, having it free, the best quality locally, as close to home as possible. It doesn't get much better. Then two last things. The sun has been under attack for a long time. Most people are afraid of the sun. Most people won't go out in the sun without sunscreen. But the sun is our friend, and we're told the sun causes melanoma. It's not true. The reality is, if you get melanoma and you've had a lot of sun exposure, you do better than people who haven't. The negative part of the sun is it can cause basal and possibly squamous cell carcinomas, which can be removed and are harmless if they're removed early. Just don't let them go. Remove them. In every other way, the sun improves our health. First of all, you feel better. Second, you get vitamin D that is far, far superior to any supplementation in many ways. Plus, you recharge your mitochondria. Plus, nitric oxide, you dilate your blood vessels to help your circulation and lower blood pressure. And the sun also activates and recharges your microbiome, your gut. All of life comes to life in the sun. So the sun is our friend. Get as much sun as you possibly can without getting sunburned. Then if you eat a macrobiotic diet, you don't burn easily. If you eat commercial oils, if you eat sugars, if you eat all the refined and processed foods, you burn easily. Plus, then your skin goes towards basal cell carcinoma much, much more easily. Then the most recent thing that's being attacked and vilified, which in some ways is probably the most harmful on this list, and you probably won't guess, but it's carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is our friend. Carbon dioxide is not our enemy. All of life depends on carbon dioxide, right? Plants give out oxygen and take in carbon dioxide. We need oxygen. All plants need carbon dioxide and the sun. That's why they're linked together to grow for photosynthesis. So the secret to having enough food for the planet is not vilifying the sun and carbon dioxide. The sun is not responsible for climate change. I can't give you the science here, but there's enough valid research. Many other gases can. And I'm not going to, argue the point. I mean, definitely our climate is changing, but the climate changes. One day you're up, one day you're down. The climate is always changing, it always has, and always will. But what I'm trying to say, it is not carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is as much a friend as brown rice, sea salt, the sun, self-reliance. These all go together. So that this list grows in the wrong way and really is very, very harmful. Now, I was just doing a little research on this. So in comparing greenhouse gases, and the natural ones are not an issue of carbon dioxide and nitrogen. The man-made ones are. So you have sulfur hexafluoride, SF6, which the global warming potential is 23,500 times that of carbon, 23,500 times carbon, and lasts for 3,200 years. Okay, that's in the generation of electricity. So promoting electricity over fossil fuels, in macrobiotics, we say everything has a front and back, has a huge back. We're generating a very, very dangerous and damaging pollutant that is warming the environment. The other one is nitrogen trifluoride, NF3. It's 16,100 times as damaging, as polluting as carbon dioxide, and its lifetime is 500 years. It's for semiconductors, manufacture of semiconductors. The other two are refrigerants, right? Long names, hydrofluorocarbon and chlorofluorocarbon, 12,000 and 10,000 global warming potential, and 222 in 100 years. So the point I'm trying to make is, yes, if we're affecting global warming, then it's the man-made chemicals that are the real problems. But even with that, in macrobiotics, it's impossible to have a perfect diet. We're all exposed to toxification and pollution from so many different ways. We're all exposed to so many stresses, but we still manage to adapt and maintain health, and the planet is the same. So what I'm trying to say is our planet, our healing ability comes from the planet. Our planet is a self-healing organism. If we stop poisoning it and getting it out of the way and start to get back to more natural practices, our planet will be fine for now and into the future. And some of these other things we can talk in more detail. And none of these things are talked about. When we hear about climate change, I don't hear anybody talking about monoculture. I don't hear them talking about factory farming. I don't hear any of this discussion about any of the other things, but just things that, number one, are out of our control, right? And things that are not really the most significant. And if you practice macrobiotics, automatically you're putting an end to factory farming and monoculture, GMOs and glyphosate. They're not part of our life. So I hope this makes sense to you. And I'm happy to try to answer some questions if you have them. And if you don't agree with this, I'm happy to discuss that as well. Thank you.
All righty, thank you so much for that, Denny. So the time is now about 7:30 Eastern, so we have about 10 to 15 minutes that we can use for Q&A. For those of you who are not familiar with how the Q&A process typically works, if you like, you can submit a question directly to the chat. I'll just type a quick hello there to the chat so you know where it is. That may be useful for you because this call is being recorded. You may not want to have your face on the recording, or if you want, you can raise your hand like I see Michelle is doing right now, or you can unmute yourself and then I will call on you. I just ask that you be called upon just so we don't have multiple people overlapping while speaking. So I'm going to allow people the ability to unmute themselves, but I'll start off with Michelle, who already has her hand up. Thank you.
Hi, Denny, Tehran, and everyone. Hi, thank you for the great lecture today. So my question is, I live in a basement apartment, and I'm wondering, should I be concerned about radon? Do you have any takes, since we're talking about different natural gases and elements? Do you have any take on that?
I would test for, if you suspect it, I would test for radon.
What do you mean, if I expect?
If you suspect
I
there
suspect.
might be an issue with radon, then you should test for it. You know, when my mother passed and we sold her house, I was convinced there was a radon problem, but there wasn't. So I don't know how you can tell naturally, but if there is a radon issue, I would move if it were me. I don't know of any natural mitigation, but if you live in a basement apartment, you want as many green plants, low, light, depending on your light, as many low light green plants as you can possibly get in there.
I've tried, and they die.
Golden pothos.
Oh, well, that's a good suggestion.
They're very, very low light and very forgiving. I've done very well with them at a place I lived years ago where part of the house was really dark, and they did quite well.
Okay, thank you. Great.
All righty. Thank you. Annie, did you have a question? I saw that you unmuted yourself.
I just wanted to make a statement. I love your presentation, Dennis. I agree with everything you said. Thank you so much for, coming out and telling us, especially not to trust science. That is for sure. I do not trust science at all. And as you know, I started microbiotic 2 years ago, and it really has been a big change for me. I am never sick. I always healthy. For me, going into nature is very important every day. The sun, the trees, walking, exercising, eating organic. So everything is representing my lifestyle. So thank you so much, Denise. I will
Well, Annie, thank you for your comment.
enjoy it. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. I just wanted to
Huh?
clarify, I am not anti-science. I am always looking for real science. However, it's becoming harder and harder to find these days. And
Yes.
it's the reason I say rely on your common sense and intuition to guide you towards real science. So that's,
Yeah.
I hope that clarifies what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. Thank you, Denise. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. I think you're muted.
Yeah. Oh, I did unmute. Yeah, I was trying to think of which of two questions to ask. Okay, this is a little bit of a sardonic question, but when we're out of balance, our judgment is off and our intuition is off. And I mean, I can speak for myself, and I crave the wrong things when I'm out of balance. My concern about the earth is that, have we taken it so far that it's not that, when you're saying, listen, those who are macrobiotic, those who are intuitive can hear it. does it lose its judgment at some point of being out of balance and where it, that's why I took my hand back down because I was like, I don't even know how to ask that question, but where it loses its judgment the way that we do.
It is possible. So, for example, if someone has terminal cancer and the cancer is too extensive, it can possibly overwhelm the person, even with good macrobiotics, they might not be able to recover. I haven't seen it much, but I have seen it. With the earth, as long as the earth can continue to turn and grow food and as it can and constantly regenerate, you can see weeds even grow on the sidewalk and the cracks in the sidewalk. Nature has this marvelous ability to regenerate itself and to return to balance. And our sense of balance comes from nature. So yes, it's possible. I mean, if we had, a nuclear war and the planet was so poisoned, yes, that would, that would happen. It could easily get to the point, or if there was, a large enough volcano that could cloud the earth for enough years, it wouldn't end it, but it would certainly alter life for the foreseeable future. But where we are at now, no, the earth will rebound quickly, more quickly than anyone can imagine.
I appreciate that. Thank you. That's very
You're
good.
welcome.
All righty, thank you. Diane, I see that you have your hand up. You can unmute yourself.
Thanks, Tehran. Hi.
You, Diana.
Yeah. Hi, Denny. I'm good with eating the organic foods and so forth. I'm looking at your really cool bookmark here, and which is such a great synopsis. And so the eating habits and the diet, I think I'm doing pretty well with. The lifestyle stuff I'm doing pretty well with. But then when we get to creating a more natural environment, I now have like natural bedding, but I'm looking at what's the most important thing to put my limited financial resources toward, in terms of having the metal shed that's outside of my bedroom removed and have it rebuilt in wood, because should I not be around, like, how important is it to not be around metal versus putting money toward having my guest beds natural fibers and things like that. So I'm
Okay.
wondering about the relative importance of things.
Right, a very good question. So the more essential to life and the closer to your body, the more important it is. So the number one thing is more natural materials next to your skin.
Okay.
Get, organic cotton as much as possible. Then your bed. So to get the metal out of your bed and to use, natural materials for bed coverings, that becomes the most important. And as it becomes less essential to life and further for you, it has less of an effect. I'm not saying it's not important, of course it is, but if we take care of what's in our immediate environment, what's touching our skin and what goes in, that's what gives us the ability to repair and compensate. And then everything else, we can do in time.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm looking here on Facebook, just checking to see if there are any questions here. So for anyone that are watching live on Facebook, you are able to definitely ask and pose some questions also. But then also coming back here to the Zoom stream, as a reminder, if you do have a question, you can definitely send it to the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand, and we can definitely ask.
I think Susan's trying to ask a question. Is that correct?
Susan?
You're muted.
Sorry, I'm in the kitchen. I'm making our dinner. And listening. I think the most important thing to think about is like your water source. It's really important to get like a good source of water. Like, I mean, for the longest time we used Berkey, but we really like the Pro One way better. We have a whole house water filter. You don't need to do like all that, but you can purchase a Pro Pure in lieu of, it's the same, you know, it'll fit in the same like Berkey canister. And I think that's just like so important. I mean, if you own your home, that is like the investment of investments, because to be able to wash your vegetables, to be able to water your garden if you're growing things, to be able to like, you know, cook, of course, like all that with like a good source of water is just, that's important for life. So that's all I wanted to add.
I couldn't agree more. And even in addition to that, the ability to take a bath or a shower in pure water, that is, you know, a joy to drink. My first shower, once we had the whole house system, was, oh my God, this is a revelation. And we had a filter in the shower. So I agree. Whatever you can do to improve because water is so essential to life, and we use so much water, you know, in our cooking and in our life. So, yeah.
Thank you. Great ideas.
Nancy, did you?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got another question along the lines of water. So we've going with local plants and, you know, getting local food. This summer, we had such an extreme summer, and a lot of our local crops just didn't make it. I mean, even the organic, it wiped everything out. And the things that survive here in the summer are pretty much nightshades. What are your thoughts about either microgreens or hydroponics as a supplement of, I mean, and obviously that's not the ideal, but again, with the quality of water, or having that be more, it's obviously local if it's grown, you know, close by. What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, that's a very difficult question. Plants grow in the soil. So, you know, what does that say? And some people close to me that I respect think a lot of hydroponic vegetables. I can't agree on that. Personally, I would choose vegetables and produce from further away that were natural, grown on real soil, before hydroponic. Microgreens are probably okay, but you know, food grows in the soil. I think that's the important point, and absorbs, you know, nutrients and minerals from the soil, which we need. And minerals are just essential to our health and direction, whether it be from sea salt in, you know, well-grown foods, in sea vegetables and natural pickles and fermentations. You know, the value of minerals is enormous. Minerals carry a charge. They help us keep a clear direction. You know, they sharpen our intuition. They do a bit of everything. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. So I think we may take, there's one question here in the chat, and then I see Michelle has her hand up also. So those may be the last questions, and then we'll do our close. So I have a question here, Denny. Do you know what your total dissolved solvents is from Pro One? Numerical value. Mine is very high from Pro One.
I really don't know. I've never thought about that. I don't, you know, I'd have to look into that. It sounds like a very good question, and I don't know. I will see if I can find out. Total dissolved solvent. Total dissolved solids. Okay.
All right, and Michelle, I see you have your hand raised there. Thank you.
Yep. So I just wanted to say, I thought of asking you a question about what can I do? I'm going to be working at an emergency clinic helping people in emergency situations. So my thought was to ask you a question as, what could I besides what I'm being trained in, what could I do to help the people that I come in contact with? But then my answer came to me, and that was just remain balanced with macrobiotic diet and lifestyle. So I think and that's, I think, from hearing you talk so often, Denny, that my intuition's good, even though I was just munching on popcorn, which is probably, I'm off balance. So, but my question is this, though. I have a little bit of a pus, a little bubble of pus on my shoulder, and you can pop it, but it never goes away. You have in your counseling guide, I think it's a taro plaster to put over that. Would you agree that would be a good solution?
Taro potato plasters is very risky. You have to be very careful how you use it. And it's hard to predict and gauge. So I only use taro very rarely anymore, but if I feel 100% certain it's the appropriate thing, and that doesn't happen much very often.
Oh, so
Right.
it wouldn't be something you put on top of.
Chlorophyll plasters is the safest thing. You can't go wrong with that.
Did that,
Match screens, chlorophyll plaster.
did that come with your the booklet you gave me for my consultation?
Simplest is bruised cabbage and just put it on there.
Oh, okay.
Promotes all healing.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I was thinking, if you had said the taro was okay for that, I was like, well, how about for acne pits? I mean, acne little things you can't get rid of, like the stuck little acne.
Please don't mess around with taro.
Guess not. Thank you.
All righty, thank you. Well, I think that will be it for our Q&A. So thank you so much for everyone who did have questions. Definitely in line for a lively discussion. Denny, before I move into my close, is there anything else that you wanted to add in regards to this and the topic? Thank you.
Nothing that really comes to mind other than share these things that are close and valuable to us with as many people as possible. It's the single most important thing we can do now. We need more friends. We need new friends. So I hope you take that to heart.
Thank you. So I'm just going to share my screen really quickly here, just so I can, go over some last minute things. And then we will end for the evening. So as always, we will have the recording available for this webinar. Right now, it's going to, if you're on Facebook and you follow Denny, you'll be able to watch the recording of this immediately after. So if there's something that you didn't get a chance to catch, or you just want to, see that again, as soon as this is over on Denny's professional Facebook page, you'll be able to rewatch this. It'll be available on YouTube and sent out formally in a link to everyone who registered at the latest Friday, but I'll try my best to get it out tomorrow as well too. Always I let people know about staying connected. Of course, we have a lot of different social media channels that we use in addition to YouTube, SHI, as well as Denny on Facebook, Twitter, as well as Instagram, so you're updated on things that are going on. Of course, too, if you're not subscribed, you probably heard about this webinar from specifically the either Denny or SHI's list, but there are 2 lists. So making sure that if you are not subscribed to both, making sure that you definitely are, as once again mentioning those social media platforms that I was talking about a little bit as well too. So if you love this webinar and you like the idea of these free webinars, we do our best to offer them once a month. The next topic that we're going to be covering is why do macrobiotic people get sick? So this is one that is very, very pressing and prevalent, and something that a lot of people are asking about. We are going to be hosting that on Wednesday. Again, it's going to be September 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I was just going to add, Denny, if you could just add some information as to why this topic is important and why it was inspired.
Thanks, Teron. It was inspired because, people ask from time to time, and a couple people asked recently. So we thought that it would be, good to address. And I have, clear ideas of, why this is so. Things I've observed, throughout the years. because, well, I mean, it's close to home. It's, so we'll see on September 28th, the ideas that they have about this and insights.
All right, thank you. Thank you. So I'll have that link available when I send out the recording for this video. It'll be accessible, so you'll be able to register immediately, and you'll also be able to register on the SHI website under the webinars tabs as well too. Also too, if you were on our previous calls or just about anything that we've offered for the last month or so, you already know that we are having our 3rd annual Fall Macrobiota Conference. And actually, I extended the special early bird price a little bit. It's going to end tonight, and then we're just going to go into regular early bird pricing, and then you'll have regular pricing toward the end of October. As always, we love to offer these conferences so people are getting the most up-to-date information in macrobiotics. We have a very good lineup of speakers that will be presenting. Of course, Denny and Susan are going to be presenting, as well as Stephen Akoff. We're going to have Norio Kushi, Martin Halsey, Laura Castaldi, who have joined us before in the past, Jonathan Burgess, Dr. T. Colin Campbell, and I'm trying to see, definitely something to know. There's some other individuals. I know, is it Georgina and Patricio?
Georgina Mayer, yeah.
And then is it Patricio?
Patricio.
Patricio, yes. I'm going to all be presenting, and it's going to be about the mind-body connection. So that's a very, very important topic. A lot of people have been, hearing information about that, especially how the gut influences, the brain and how it's like a second brain and things of that nature. So it's going to be a very, very, very good conference, just helping to close things off for this 20th anniversary year that we have here with SHI Macrobiotics. So as I mentioned, that's on our main page right now. If you go to the SHI website, where you'll be able to register for that conference right now. As I mentioned, that special early bird price is going to just close pretty much tonight. You'll be able to find those details directly there on the site. So definitely take a look. Also too, in addition, we have a lot of courses that we're offering. We, of course, have a beginner's course, an advanced macrobiotic counselor, course as well too, and different options as well too in between different webinars that you're able to check out that we've done before in the past, previous webinars from Saturday presentations. And some of you may also know that we are working on a new counselor training program. So hoping to get information out about that to people ASAP for this upcoming spring 2022. As always too, share a recipe, share some of our blogs, share the Ultimate Guides Eating for Longevity. All those links will be available too in the recording. And we also lastly always want to remind people that, we rely 100% on your contributions and your support. We're able to have these free webinars just because of the contributions and endless support of our conferences and other webinars and, donors that are able to, make sure that individuals do get free macrobiotic education as well too. So if you've been thinking about it, or you wanted to consider it in the past, it's very easy. We do have it right on our website, or you can always just send something directly to us in the mail. Information about that will also be available on our website on our donor page. No amount is too small. I know that sounds a little cheesy, but really it's true. No amount is too small. We're always grateful for whatever it is that you're able to contribute. And that's pretty much it. So we want to just say thank you for being able to, take part in this presentation. Let's see. Yes, that is correct. Yep, that is correct. That may have said 2022. That's spring of 2023. So thank you so much. That didn't already take place. So thank you so much for catching that little typo there. So counselor and teaching training program for spring of 2023. So as I mentioned, we'll make sure to have all those links and the recording available for you within the next couple of days. So if anyone wants to, feel free. You can unmute yourself and or whatever you want to say to give your thanks and praises for Denny. And thank you so much, and have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, Denny.
Well,
Thank you, Teron.
Good to see
Thanks, Danny.
everyone.
Thanks, Ron.